Have you ever noticed how it's always your fault in some relationships with some women? Doesn't matter what happened, somehow you always end up as the problem. That's projection, and it's one of the oldest tricks in the book. Instead of owning her own flaws, she hands them to you, and if you accept it, you become her scapegoat. Today, let's discuss how to spot projection and how to stop being the man who's always to blame. So tell me if you've ever dated this type of woman. When she's angry, it's because you made her angry. If she's insecure, it's because you didn't do enough. And if she cheats, it's because you weren't focused enough or because you were doing the so-called bare minimum. Somehow, no matter what, it always comes back to you. That's projection, and it's one of the oldest mechanisms of defense in psychology. So, I'm sure you're familiar, Sigmund Freud first wrote about projection in the late 1800s, and the concept is really simple. When a person cannot handle their own emotions, impulses, or any other type of flaw, they push those onto someone else. It's a shield of sorts. So, instead of admitting, I'm jealous, she'll tell you that you're controlling. Or instead of admitting, listen, I think I made a mistake, what she'll say is, you're hostile. So her ego gets to stay intact because she doesn't have to face her flaws. And in relationships, this becomes exhausting for men when you stop being her leader and start being the target of everything that she doesn't want to reflect upon. Here's a simple example of how it might play out. A guy's girlfriend constantly accuses him of being unfaithful, but he's not. But she's hiding her phone, she's flirting with coworkers, and maybe even carrying guilt that she expresses at his supposed betrayal. That's projection. Or take this other simple scenario. She's on edge, she's snapping, making small issues into big ones, but instead of owning that, she tells you, you're always criticizing me. And now you're on defense with responses like, no, I'm not angry, you're just incompetent. And suddenly the conversation is no longer about her lashing out, it's about your supposed temper. For example, a dysfunctional family, maybe there's one child that becomes the identified problem. And that's used as the scapegoat, the one who always gets blamed for everything so no one else has to deal with their own dysfunction. And the same happens in relationships, such that once she makes you that scapegoat, you're always the issue. No matter what's going on, the finger always points at you. So what do? First, recognize it as it happens. Don't argue definitions and don't waste your breath trying to prove that you're not what she says. If you come back and respond with something along the lines of, I'm not toxic, or I'm not gaslighting you, then you've already stepped too far because you're acknowledging what she's already said. And at that point, you're on defense, while she's off the hook by way of distraction. So instead, hold up the mirror and let her have a nice long look. If you're still willing to give her another shot after she's done this multiple times, calmly handle it and say something along the lines of, nope, that's not me. That's your issue, and I'm not carrying it for you. Short, steady, and abundantly clear. No debate. Just redirect responsibility back to where it belongs. If she's capable of a reflection, she might catch herself and actually work on it and make some improvements. But if you've hit the point where it's time to move on, you can be more clear and more direct with a statement such as, I've told you before that I will not be your scapegoat. If this is how it's going to be, I'm done. And then you walk away without negotiation. Because here's the predictable outcome. Projection is not about truth for those types of women. It's about her or them avoiding themselves and their own accountability and responsibility. If you accept it or you don't even recognize it, you'll end up living as her problem or her scapegoat. But when you refuse it, you stop defending yourself against someone else's flaws and accusations, and you start demanding accountability.